Hey all, Penguin Makers here. In the 3D printing community, you often hear about how fun the process of printing is. But for those of us who build the printers and use the printers and everything, some of the hardest things to do in the building process is finding reliable parts. You know, we've run into issues multiple times where you order in a board and it comes in dead, or you ordered in extrusions and they were a millimeter off or something, and you ask, there's gotta be a better way to do this. Today, we have been given the opportunity to see what goes into the parts, the kits, the supply to help get you back up and printing or starting printing. I can't wait for this opportunity. Let's see what Fabreeko has in store for us. Okay, so we're here at Fabreeko. This is Fabreeko Hector, the wonderful man that invited us out here to show you what they do, what they bring to the community, and give us a nice little tour of their facilities.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is our warehouse. Take a look. So we store probably close to 2,500 parts and different SKUs. Everything you need to build a printer is here, from bearings, screws, heaters. We have PCBs, even things from like smaller designers in Europe that allow you to expand printers and ports and things like that. We carry all of that in-house.
Yeah, so I mean, you guys think that you have a lot of stuff when you're building your 3D printers. This place is huge. I couldn't even grasp it when I first came in of how many individual parts there are in here.
We have everything for the maker, but we also try to support the newcomer with their bamboos, their Elegos, their Cheetah printers. So we carry replacement parts for Cheetah. We carry Victory Tech upgrades for bamboo, all sorts of MCUs and CPAP upgrades and eddy current probes, and basically anything you're going to need to build or tune or upgrade your printer. A couple things we make as well for the community: screwdrivers, because you can never have enough good tools. We actually make these in regular and ball end now, and they are fantastic. They're actually, we call them heavy duty because they have two different set screws in an upside, so they're very different from what you would normally make. You can actually torque a frame with these if you wanted to, and they will help hold and not break.
You know, I'm using a similar one to them. The knurling on those handles makes them super easy to use, and I can't recommend them enough.
Typically out of stock, but we just got them in. So filament is another thing we carry a lot of, from PLA to ABS, ASA, and engineering materials. This is actually getting redone. We're trying to bring in different brands and trying to figure out those gems that no one knows about that may have stronger materials or different blends. A lot of what we do here is figuring out what's worth it and what's not. It's something that's popular, maybe popular because it's cheap.
Yeah, I mean, you go on Amazon, you look at that top selling filament on there. It may be like, hey, look, this is a $9 roll filament. And that's why it's being bought, not necessarily because it's going to give you that best layer adhesion or the best quality of the print. It may bubble up and be an absolute nightmare to work with.
Absolutely. It may clog your heat break there, and it may cost you 30, 40 bucks, you know, or a new hot end. And that's when you pay the price, you know, when their 1.75 becomes 1.9 and doesn't go down that throat, and it sits there and it anneals, like it's not good. It's not easy to take it apart. So not only regular materials like ABS, ASA, PLA, we try to carry engineering grade materials and exotic things like PPSCF, PETCF, all kinds of blends with glass fiber, 25% carbon fiber, fire retardant material. So we make all of that available to our maker community. Even if it's something that I know it's not going to sell once a month, we carry it, we have it in stock, and we provide a level of service that's unmatched, right? So that you guys could focus on what you do best, which is just creating cool stuff. Speaking of filament, LDO is our biggest partner. They have their own line of filament, that LDO ABS, which is actually fantastic. It's what we use in our print farm. They have a lot of colors and it's expanding. Right now you can get them, and if you buy one, you get free shipping for anything else in the order as well.
What are some of the challenges you find in sourcing different parts or different materials for these kits and everything that people have, so that way you make sure that they do work out together and things of that nature?
One of the biggest challenges we have is consistency. The components that you may order from the factory may be excellent the first time, but sometimes they like to update what they're using, and those updates aren't always communicated to us. So to mitigate that, we tend to test at least one one per batch created, or randomly pick a sample from what we're selling and make sure, it still fits right, it still looks like what it's supposed to look like, it's the right color, the anodizing doesn't look off, and just go through it all to make sure that we're keeping that level of quality that we had when we were a way smaller company to where we are today. Most makers are very capable. They're very good at adapting to what they get. But that shouldn't be the way. They shouldn't have to adapt, right? We should be able to provide them with consistent quality parts. And that's what we strive to do here. Our commitment to quality it's unparalleled, right? It's one of the most important things because we test everything in-house. Like 90% of what we sell here has been tested by us at one point or another. And we run it on our machines, right? And if we can't find it, then we build it, right? We play with components like this, like carbon fiber plates instead of graphite, so that we solve problems like bed snapping and things like that, while still providing fast heating times.
A nice alternative to aluminum is definitely going to be welcome.
So you can see this is our aluminum stock for making beds and different components. We have a CNC machine back there. We make beds in-house. We make plates for Milos. So this is one of my favorite things to make. This is actually a Milo fixture plate. It's not my favorite thing because it makes us the most money. Actually, we spent two hours, maybe a little more, actually manufacturing this from a 6061 T6 aluminum to get it to that flatness and get those holes, which there's a lot of them, so that they are precise. But it's one of the things I'm most proud of because I designed it in collaboration with some community members, and we were able to make things that were equally as good as companies that have been doing this for a long time.
Just kind of rest in there. It is
insanely repeatable. So learning how to make holes like that was super interesting, especially coming from the additive manufacturing. Where you don't need to know where your thing is. It just creates it.
Just kind of build it up, there it goes.
Understanding the importance of that, right? Because if I can't reliably figure out where it's at, then my operation tool isn't going to match. And then it's going to be a part that nobody's going to want to buy because it's not going to look pretty. Everything we make in-house actually has multiple QC checks. So we produce it, it gets washed by hand, and it gets placed here. As soon as it gets picked, it's also checked again. We make this one. So this one you can see needed a little bit more facing. So we're gonna pull this one aside and I will take care of that. But essentially, every single part we make gets hand washed, then hand wrapped by the picker. Has like a 3-stage QC process. And these bits are actually surprisingly flat. 0.2 flatness or better most of the time, and that's what we guarantee. If you have any problems, then just email us. We have a pretty good team of customer service out there.
And you can see, that dedication to quality, he's pulled that aside. It's no longer on the shelf anymore, so that way they can go back, so that way it doesn't end up on one of your printers.
So let me take you to the workshop, which is where I spend most of my day. So we have parts that we sell, and this is part that we manufacture either in our print farm or laser or CNC or high temp printers, anything we anneal. We have a lot of capabilities, some of which we haven't talked about ever or taken advantage of, but that's going to change pretty soon. You could cut any panels for any machine, Fabreeko 500, Venture Excel, anything you need, we can cut here.
So you're custom fabbing the enclosure panels for all these printers.
And our goal is to actually open this up so that anybody who has any project or any different type of printer can send us a DXF and get a quote instantly, so we could cut it out for him and send that out within a day or two.
Now, question for me, are we talking just can't cut out, or are we able to do possibly things like a custom engraving or something like that?
Absolutely. So custom engraving is something we've done in the past. It comes out really, really nice, sort of a frosted colored. That's going to be right after we launch that custom panel, so that you could get that odd size machine going. We're going to offer custom engraving and things like that. We just need to build the framework for it.
Custom work's always a bit harder than something that's already in a box.
Yep, but it's not something we shy away from. We actually embrace it. A lot of these machines were custom at one point. There was a point where there was a few Horons and nobody made parts for them. So being able to facilitate that for people and them being able to come to us, offering that at a lower price point is part of our focus here for 2026. So this is our farm. We actually rotate these machines based on different ones that we're selling at the current point. These are plus 4s. They're soon to become X Max 4s or a different printer. We also have Vorons here. There's some more Vorons in the office. Rat rig, some bamboos because, they do multicolor in a very good way.
I think we were talking earlier, bamboo kind of can sometimes get a bad rap in the custom world, but they do make a good product.
Absolutely. I think they have their place in every maker's house, right? They are a tool. They work. They're not perfect, but they're very good.
Yeah. At the end of the day, whether you're on a Voron, whether you're on a Cheaty, a Creality, a Bamboo, what gets you into the hobby brings more people here.
Yeah.
Your neighbor that you sit here and tell them, hey, go out and buy a Bamboo. That might spark his interest. And then all of a sudden, hey, I'd like to sit here and start doing some customization, which brings up a conversation about, going into, say, a Cheaty or a Creality where you can customize a bit more. And then you can sit here and come to Fabreeko and be like, hey, look, you can get all your parts here.
I want to make my own printer. You have no idea how many people tell me that. And, to me, it's a joy being able to provide the parts for them to build their own printer. Creating and bringing those projects to life is what drives us, beyond revenue, beyond all that, like just the sheer joy of creating something together and being part of that journey for the maker. It's incredible. It's why we wake up every morning and work 12-hour days without a problem, 7 days a week,
I know you were talking about the Milo plate that you milled earlier. Is this the machine that does the magic?
So this is the machine that does the magic. As you can see, it just finished making some Milo plates. That's our setup for it. This allows us to work 5, so top and all 4 sides at the same time. And then we flip it into operation 2. So we can efficiently make 2 of them. But yeah, it was an interesting learning curve for moving from additive manufacturing to subtractive manufacturing. And the capabilities of this are way beyond what we've done so far. And I do think we're going to see more products in 2026 built in-house for the makers.
And just behind where we just were with the CNC, we have this gorgeous Rat Rig V-Core 500.
Yep, that's quite the machine.
What's the story behind this?
So this is actually commissioned by a customer, an industrial customer, that needed a bed in the 500 size or so, and he needed to be able to print certain materials like PETCF and other things. So we worked together to build this BC4 500 with the IDEX upgrade. So you can see it has dual sets of motors.
Dual motors up there.
And there's 2 sets of belts as well there. Yep, there's one here. There should be one behind this. So this is spec to what he needed. We added a filter. We enclosed it in 6mm acrylic, which are about to change the hot end to a tube so it can push more flow. And there's some other upgrades in there that we can't talk about that are coming in. But yeah, it's a development machine that's being used in collaboration with this customer so that we could create parts for the BC4.
So kind of doing that custom parts, but also a custom build for a customer.
Exactly.
Bringing that aspect of the business to Fabreeko. So not only can you buy the parts, but maybe one day soon, they can build it for you.
Yep, we could definitely build it. It's still something that it needs to be done via email mostly, but we're going to get there. We're going to build the framework so that it's more accessible. And anybody who wants a machine but may not have the time to build it, but still wants that open source, still wants that modability, we should be able to provide that for them.
Now, we've all seen big printers, or we've heard about big printers. I can say, I'm building that 350 Voron and everything. I did not know how big this Orange Storm Giga was until I was here. I'm 5'10", and this thing is almost up to my shoulder just in the frame. If you look at these beds, you could actually probably use it as a bed. Now, you were mentioning wanting to sit here and do things like enclosures and stuff like that. And with that laser we saw earlier, that's something that you're hoping to be able to get done, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is actually a dev machine. We're using it to kind of understand what the limitations of the Giga are and how we can make it better, right? You can't buy something this size for this price. It's a ridiculous value. What does it need to print ABS? That's our job, right? We can turn this into an ABS machine that is fast and can can flow and doesn't cost an arm and a leg getting it there, then it's a really good machine for making, lawn ornaments or stuff for furniture, yes, anything like that. So an enclosure is part of what we're developing. Luke Labs actually has a really nice hot end upgrade for this that we may put in this one. It has to be converted to beacon because it's a huge bed.
Yeah, I would not want to do a tap mesh on a bed this size.
Mesh, so
yeah, that definitely needs a cartographer or beacon.
Yeah, and then from there we'll offer this level of size and capabilities to the community, right? Let's say they need a part that's huge that needs to be printed for an R2D2 build or whatever. We can do it.
A build after my own heart.
Exactly. We actually have high temp printers like this. Like this should be able to print PEEK and other materials like that at a price point that is affordable. So if you don't want to use ABS for your build, you want to use some exotic PPSCF, you want to use some PEEK or whatever material you may think of, we have the capabilities of printing that in-house.
Might put you on the spot here, but like let's say I ordered an LDO V0 kit for you, and I want to do a crazy, and I wanted, the tool head and the parts made out of PPSCF.
Yeah.
You have your little maker program where you'll print out the parts for us.
Yeah.
Is that something that can be requested? Hey, can you print these in PPSCF?
Absolutely. It's not on the website yet simply because we haven't figured out a good auto quoting system, but that is something that's actively being worked on. We are searching for a partner to provide that for us, but we're also developing it in-house, right? We have that capability. We have people that have that level of knowledge and understanding, not only in programming, but in what really makes a part difficult to print. So once we have that, we'll be able to do auto quoting. We'll be able to do, you'll be able to come to us and not have to wait for me to be like, oh, this is going to be that much. It would be a click shop and then print and ship, right? It'll be really quick, really seamless process.
I am not going to complain about that. All right. Well, Hector, we had an awesome little tour of your warehouse and everything. What I've done throughout a few of my streams and looking out there, I've had some questions from the community and from myself. Didn't know if you'd mind answering.
Absolutely.
With Fabreeko kind of becoming that household name in 3D printing, what was that problem that you tried to solve back when you founded the company?
So we started about 5 years ago, and a lot of things has happened since then. We've been able to grow out of our garage and into our first warehouse and into this facility, which is close to 6,000 square feet. I mean, I'm humbled by the support of the community and the ability to get this to a level way beyond what I expected it to be. But to go back and see what actually started it, what I wanted to do was bridge the gap between ordering from China and getting things in the US, right? We all used to wait 2 to 3 months for parts, and by the time they got here, they would be dead or bad or broken in transit, and that would be the most frustrating thing out of any maker, right? Because your project that you had this weekend to work for now needs to be postponed 2 to 3 months, and you have to do a ton of troubleshooting because nobody really believes you when you say the parts are bad, right? So what I wanted to do was cut that in half. Like let's bring in the products, carry them in store, sell them about the same price, offer good support because we have a lot more leverage over manufacturers, and they do listen to us when we say, hey, this is bad, right? We trust you, the community, right? We know that you know what you're doing. You've been doing this for God knows how many years, right? So when you tell me you power cycle that board and you tested it and you sent the right stuff to where it needs to go and it's set up right, we're just going to ask you a few simple questions, mostly a picture of what it looks like plugged in, because everybody makes mistakes. And once we know that, we'll send you a replacement and deal with the manufacturer directly. Right, so we started that to provide that service to the community so that you guys could focus on building while we supply you what you need.
And like you said, we all make mistakes, and so that support that's there as well.
We do too.
You are sourcing all of these different parts and everything. At this point, you've obviously worked with a lot of manufacturers. Is there any component that you guys find that you're picky about when it comes to selecting?
One of the things that I thoroughly enjoyed selling are linear rails, right? When I started as a maker, I started with an Ender 3. For the second time, the first time I had one of those wooden box replicators, 10, 12 years ago. I don't know, a very long time ago. I thought linear rails were expensive, right? Now there's one in every corner of the warehouse, to just put it that way, right? But linear rails are beautiful things, right? They're meant to be, tight, but not too tight, but also they need to, be smooth. That's a component that really took us a long time to figure out who our partner was going to be, how they were able to consistently make something of quality, but also value, right? The Honey Badger line is focused on that intersection between value and quality. Yeah, you could get 20% better parts at 70% higher cost, but is it worth it?
Yeah, kind of finding a nice price and performance balance.
Exactly.
You're quite active in Discord. I see you in people's streams all the time, reaching out to us and everything. How does feedback from things like Discord, Reddit actually change the products that you might carry or something of that nature?
One of the things we strive to keep as we grow is that ear to the ground and paying attention to what people want. There are many products that have been shaped by the community. Actually, this is one of them. This was actually, somebody came to us and they were like, I made this really cool graphic. Can you turn it into a build mat? And we were like, yeah, absolutely. They were going to custom make this at like $50 a piece so that they could have it. And we were able to cut that in half, I think 20 something. It sells something about that. At a really good quality,
Yeah, I can say this feels really nice.
It is a very nice mat, and we actually need to bring more in stock.
Nice stitch edging, so it's not going to fray on you.
Yeah. But also with things like printers, like, hey, what colors should we offer? What kind of printers or what kind of modifications are you interested in? Whenever somebody puts out a new project and has a bomb, right? We all have to go to 5 to 7 different places to get it. That gets really expensive. It gets really expensive, and there's a lot of transit time. And if you miss one part, you get, kind of pushed back. So we pay attention to what's hot, and we try to make it a kit and a price that's going to be lower than what you're going to pay. So you get it faster and know that the parts that are in there are actually going to fit. They're going to be reliable.
I sit here and I stream pretty late at night. So for me, it's late. But for the other half of the world, it's early in the morning. So I actually had a question from one of the audience members. Do you have any plans to expand your store business to different parts of the world, such as Australia?
Yeah.
Turn the business upside down.
Absolutely. So our Honey Badger line is carried by JamesCube in Australia, and we are actively looking for other suppliers, not only in Australia, but like Europe or Canada or other areas, South America. I think we make a really good value and quality component that should be distributed in other places so that people have access to it. They don't have to order from AliExpress or wherever they order. They can support their local maker and they could get quality parts, right?
Yeah, don't have to worry about those sloppy Chinese rails.
Absolutely.
I understand that the sloppy Chinese rails aren't as common, but it's still...
They got a lot better, right? China can make anything you ask them to. You just got to explain to them what they're making and how to make it. The quality is tied to how much input you give them, and you explain to them that you really don't care about the lowest price. They are able to provide very high quality. For example, our rail factory produces rails for other brands, including their own brand, but we get what they call bin stock, where they test all of it, and we get the top of the top. We pay a little extra for that, but it's convenient, and there's peace of mind knowing that what we sell is going to be perfect every single time.
Coming from the IT world, it's, you had that with your computer processors. It was, this part was bent down. This is going to be, the next i7.
Yeah, exactly.
And that couldn't work for this. So, we're not going to use that for this part, but that could work for an i5. So it might not come to Fabreeko, but it might go to
any other company. Yeah, it's funny because they all say that. They all say you're the only, like one of the only vendors that never messes with us about price, like never pushes us, but always push towards quality. Like, I will pay what you're asking me to pay, but make a part that's good or better than what you normally make, and we'll be all happy,
Yeah, so there's that quality, that they've been promising and everything. The other question we had was, are there any plans about carrying Mellow products in the future?
Yeah, actually, Mellow is starting to make some very interesting parts. They make some really cool looking extruders, all CNC. We just got a bunch of parts in from Mellow. We got some interesting parts, like there's a USB little component that they make with a screen that pops up the IP of the printer. So if you have a printer that's headless and is connected to your network, you don't have to go find it in your router. You can just plug that in, and it's beautiful. It works really, really well for people who have multiple printers.
That would be so convenient instead of having, I'm having to go into router settings.
Yeah, so they have out-of-the-box components or different, like, the same extruder or something else. So yeah, we actually do value their products, and we are going to be expanding in the metal line, as well as others like Triangle Labs. They make some interesting hot ends. You'll see those here soon.
Nice. So keep an eye out on Fabreeko, new interesting things coming. Another question we had from the community was, as of right now, very few places where you can reliably buy like large packs of like, say, a single screw, Like, for instance, I think it's the M3x8s that are everywhere in a Voron.
Yep.
Any plans on, doing something with that where, like, hey, maybe we could buy in bulk, or, hey, I only need 10 of these or something like that?
Yeah, so that's actually pretty interesting because it propagates along connectors and other components that we may not need those 500 things that comes in that kit, but you need that like 2-pin one, or you need that 4-pin one. You don't really care about the 6 or the 8 or whatever. It's definitely been identified as an opportunity to provide essential parts to makers like those M3x8 or M5x8 or whichever type. And LDO actually started making their hardware available to their resellers because they use a very special screw, which is like nickel coated, or
that black nickel coated.
But it's excellent because it has that rust coating, but it's also strong. It's not going to snap on you. So you will be seeing those in here, and what you may be seeing more than that is actual kits built around what we use, and not just like a random collection of stuff.
For makers by makers. It's, hey, this isn't just you throwing together a product. It's, hey, we actually needed this to fix our printer.
Exactly. And we use the components, right? So we understand it better than anybody. Not to take away from BTT, because they are for makers by makers, but we're also makers, We're all enthusiasts, and we're actually enthusiasts first and business people second.
It's always good to have that nice business that you can go to that's, they're not there because, hey, they just wanted to open a business because there was a niche for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're here because you enjoy that printing. First and foremost.
Everybody who works for us enjoys what we do, and to one level or another makes a sacrifice to make it work. Like, because we work around the clock. Like, we may clock out, but we're still working. Like, the guys in the Discord are still there, even though they're not supposed to be, right? Because they all they have that passion, that connection, and sharing it with somebody else and fixing their problem is an incredible, accomplishment and feeling. We get calls about products we don't sell, and we get emails about products that we didn't sell, and we still support them. Like, Fadis bought from a different manufacturer or a different seller, calls about bamboo printers and what they should buy. I don't care. Like, as long as it's hobby related and we know, we will help them.
I think that's actually all the questions I had. It's been wonderful coming out here, meeting you, getting to see the facility, and kind of sharing what you do with the community.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you guys took the time to drive down here, and you're welcome here anytime.
Oh, well, look forward to seeing you again.
Thanks for coming.
Seeing the scale of what goes on here at Fabreeko really puts into perspective how much work goes into every single kit, part, roll of filament that lands on our doorsteps. It's pretty clear why Fabreeko is the go-to for so many of us in the DIY printing community. Seeing how they handle quality control in person definitely gives me a lot of confidence for my next build. So much so that I'm going back into the warehouse to buy something as soon as we stop filming here today. Before that, if you want to see more factory tours like this one, let us know in the comments which company we should visit next. And if you enjoyed the peek behind the curtain, make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons, and make sure to ring that bell to get notifications when we go live or post a new video. We've got more live streams coming your way, as well as Linux videos coming out in the future. Also, drop a comment below. What's the one part of the 3D printing process you've always wanted to see behind the scenes? Huge thanks to Hector and the team here at Fabreeko for having us. I'll see you in the next one. Now go build something awesome.